You've got to live and breathe this job. And I wasn't living and breathing it because I was living and breathing a cocaine addiction. Sometimes I'd run across to a pub because I'd be that wired. I'd have to deck 3 pints quickly and have a line, which is crazy, and then go back to my office. That's when it'll become unmanageable. I grew up in a small village just outside Cardiff called Taftswell, which is really small. Life was pretty simple, pretty sheltered, very sheltered. It's just a really good childhood because of the environment I was born into, really. The little village, everyone knew each other. I was pretty shy as a youngster initially, until I got to about 14, 15, and I really took off with sport. And I think that gave me a massive amount of confidence. I suppose I still am shy. I like my own company anyway. I'm not a social butterfly, even though, you know, in the midst of it, you think I was, but it wasn't never me, really. Yeah, it was just a facade I used to put out there. You know, well, you want to be perceived by people. That's what I thought about. How do I want to be perceived? Not actually who I am. I didn't really like who you are, do you? You want to be someone else all the time until you get comfortable with yourself. I think my mum and I think my family had said that you should try and apply for, you know, police, fire, because they're safe jobs. Back in them days, you have a job for life. So I thought, well, I'll have a crack and I'll try. And I think London just came up first, the police, and it was an assessment weekend. So you have to go to London. I've never been in London, I've been away, hardly. So you go down on a train, you go to a place, and they assess you, and you stay for the weekend. And on a Saturday, I went out with a Scottish guy. I always remember going out, and we were walking through Leicester Square, and the bright lights grabbed me. I never really thought about the job at all. It was the fact that it enabled me to move away and start a life, I suppose.
What was your first day like in London?
My first day, well, I remember getting driven down. We had stayed in a place called a section house, which is all young PC stays. It's like a bed sit, but there's about 50 people there. I remember going to see a room. When I went to see my room, and there was a crack in the window, there was a hole in the window, and there was leaves on the floor. So I walked into the bedroom, and that was my room, and I thought, oh my God, what have I done here? You know, just first night away in this place. It wasn't the best place, but it was a fun place because you got all these youngsters together. So what do youngsters do? They go out and they party and they drink, don't they? So for that part, it was fun.
And how different was London from Wales and the... Oh,
chalk and cheese, totally different, yeah, totally different. I was that naive, I never even had a pizza until I left Wales, yeah. I was blinkered, you know, I didn't know what the world was. First job, you have to be a PC, you have to have the uniform. That was really weird, it was really strange to me, yeah. Obviously, I didn't want people looking at me, but obviously with a big top hat, you're not invisible, are you? So I walked these streets around Bethnal Green.
How did your career sort of progress from there, Gary?
Well, I became a trainee investigator, which takes a couple of years, and then you work in the main office, which is the main office where all the crimes come in. It's a CID office, basically. So I worked there for a few years in Bethnal Green, and then you take an exam when you get chosen to be a detective. Fortunately, I passed that. I say I passed it, I was helped along. You know, a lot of this game is who you know. On my first posting, I left Bethnal Green to go to Tottenham, which was a real eye-opener for me. There was shootings, there was stabbings, it was basically, you couldn't investigate anything on night duty, you just had to hold it together. Yeah, there was no, you know, you do your best, but there's so much going on, and there wasn't enough people back then, let alone now, so I don't know how they're doing it really, but I remember my first nights at Bethnal Green when I was on uniform, and I went in a car with an area car driver, an old boy, and he went to the pub on the back street and left me in the car for 3 hours, sitting there. So I just thought, is this what it's about, is it? It's not always like that, but I remember that distinctly, sitting there thinking, oh my God. So I'm just sat here and this radio's going and he's drinking beers in the pub.
You won a commendation?
I won a commendation, yeah, I won a vicious commendation.
Tell me about that.
That was an armed robbery, believe it or not, which is really ironic, in Bethnal Green Road. There's a guy called the Milky Bar Kid, they called him. He was an armed robber in the East End. And Milky Bar Kid, because he looked like the Milky Bar Kid. And there was two of them went into Woolworths, and we were following them. And they were in there a long time, you know, and what happened, they got the safe open, they cut the manager, and they came running out with the goodies as I was walking in. I got stabbed in the leg. I think I pretty much fell on the knife, to be honest. I'm not going to ramp it up. So I got a commissioner's commendation, yeah, and that was it. Just they'd injured the manager quite severely when they got done, but they were desperate. So yeah, drugs. I was really anti-drugs, you know, for a long, long time. I really, really was. I never took drugs. I think I was a bit judgmental in that instance, saying, "Oh, I'll never be like that." You just never know, do you? I took my first line when I was playing rugby. I must have been about 28, 29. I was going on 30. So it was quite late in life, really. I just moved to play rugby again in the East, Essex I was playing. And it was fantastic boys I met there. You know, there was, I would say lifelong friends, but I turned my back on them really, but they were amazing to me. And I took my first line of cocaine there. Everybody else was drinking like a fish and not getting drunk, and I was drinking, getting drunk. And I was thinking, well, something going on here, isn't it? And someone gave me a line on the bonnet of the car, and I went into the club and thought, my God. I remember there's a chandelier there in the club, and I think I was floating to it, but I wasn't obviously floating to it. I was that high, I thought, what have I been missing out on? My God. Little did I know, though, but for me, it was like, well, I've missed out on so many years doing this. So the drugs came in every weekend then in rugby. I made sure I had drugs every weekend. A friend of mine was a roofer, and he introduced me to a local drug dealer. And he didn't know what I did, the local drug dealer. I never, when he said, just don't say anything, yeah. So I was using him, yeah, and he had no idea that I was in the yard. It's kind of like a double life coming on you. And that's when the pressure started. That's when the pressure really started. Because I take it every week, and then I say, well, you know, I've had a hard week, and I break up. I'll have some on a Wednesday to break the week up. And you know, this is usual story. The Wednesday becomes a Thursday, a Friday, and then I realised I'd been taking drugs every day for about 6 months, without fail, without a miss. And I'd say, tomorrow, I'm going to stop tomorrow. I will stop tomorrow, I'm all right. Because I'm still functioning, I'm still training, still looking all right. Hiding it quite well, so in my head, everything's great. I'm not saying my life was bad then, because it was fantastic. I was traveling in America, playing rugby, I had this job, I was doing what I wanted to do, but underneath all this, the drugs were creeping in, and they were embedding themselves in my routine, my daily routine. I mean, I couldn't go past 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock, the phone would go on. I'd be on the phone at 12 o'clock to get drugs. So I couldn't go shopping to Tesco with drugs in my pocket, you know, that's how bad it gets. So basically, I couldn't go outside the door unless I had cocaine on me. I certainly would have a night out. And by that time then, I probably made associates that I shouldn't have. You know, talking to people perhaps I shouldn't have. I'm not doing anything, but I'm still mingling with people, in crowds and in company that I shouldn't be. And that weighed on my mind as well, obviously. You know it's not right for the job you're doing. And then the pressure just started. I actually thought then I was going to be in trouble. You know, I thought at some stage I'm going to be in trouble here. I was right. I was definitely right.
How much money were you spending on drugs at the height of your addiction?
150 to 200 a day. Yeah, I'd buy a Henry to start with, 3.5, and I might go again then. But I wasn't exactly using the drugs because I used to get paranoia. I ended up throwing half of it down the toilet, you know, coming down and then thinking, oh my God, what have I done? But it's that madness, and that paranoia. I mean, I could stop the car. I think the helicopters are up there if I'd been on it all night. I'd lie in the road in front of my car, think, come and get me. No, I'd stop the traffic. It's complete madness. Madness. I saw someone I knew once come and trying to pick me up, like, what's wrong? I said, the helicopter's up there. There's no helicopter. It's drug-induced psychosis. I thought my place was bugged. I did have a remote control in the house because they were all in the bath. You've got to fill the bath and just chuck everything electrical in because you think you're being bugged. But then I couldn't turn the telly on. So It's crazy, yeah. I've thrown them out the window. You do all sorts of things when you're in that headspace, because you're not yourself, you're not thinking, and you're in psychosis, which can make you dangerous as well, obviously, because, you know, my house was like knives and things everywhere, all over. You're living in madness, basically. And then you isolate. You don't want any friends on you. You don't want to see anybody, because, you know, you think, look at the state of me. So I ended up, when I went to Scotland Yard, I got the kidnap team. I guess I was using a lot then, so I went there in trouble. And it was the wrong place to go in trouble, because you've got to live there, basically. You know, you're on call 7 days a week, 1 week, and then the next week you're free. So you've got to live and breathe this job. And I wasn't living and breathing it, because I was living and breathing a cocaine addiction. So it really was difficult for me. Sometimes I'd run across to the pub, because I'd be that wired. I'd have to deck 3 pints quickly and have a line, which is crazy, and then go back to my office and my computer. That's when it all became unmanageable. When I had to go sick then. I just couldn't. I initially went sick. I said I was alcoholic, I was drinking. I didn't want to say cocaine, because it's the police. But I was off sick for over a year. All I was doing was taking cocaine every single day, off sick, hammering it then. So I went to rehab a few times. I never really paid any heed to it, really. It was just there to appease other people. I just wanted to continue. I wanted to go hell for leather on it. So I'm off sick. I'm not seeing anyone from work. I don't want to know. Don't want anyone to see me. You're living like a hermit. Nocturnal I lived. When it was dark, I'd go out and get my drugs and all that. In the day, I didn't want to be seen. I went to Faces nightclub in the East End one night to pick up some gear. It must have been about 2 o'clock. I had 2 bags on me, and I came out and I must have been that drunk or that high. I could have killed someone. I jumped in the car. I had a brand new Golf, and I just drove, and I went straight for a police car. Next thing I know, the police car's behind me, and they stop, and obviously I'm drunk as a skunk. But I try, say, look, I'm a detective. Nope. I've got these 2 grams of cocaine on me. I throw them away, thinking, what is going on here? And I get arrested, and I go in, and the police sergeant who's in there, I know really well, and his head's down, and he knows he's the end of my job then. And obviously then, with the drink drive, I resigned. They gave me an option to resign, which was very kind of them. But then I got released. I didn't really lock me up. They did what I had to do. I took a taxi to exactly where I'd just thrown the cocaine away and picked them up off the floor and went in and started sniffing them. You know, so yeah, it's a bit mad.
That's how strong the addiction was?
Yeah, I just want to blank everything out. I was really, really unhappy. Really, really unhappy with a lot of things. But yeah, that's how strong I was. Yeah, I was willing to give everything up. I did.
How did it feel when you got let go from the police?
Weird. Really strange, because for 18 years I had a warrant card on me. I know my wallet had gone and everything, and I had no... It's like your ID had gone. It's your identity, I mean. It was a real strange one. Really strange. I remember walking out of the police station, having handed it all in, feeling lost. Yeah, I suppose when you've got everything taken care of you for 18 years, you know you got your job, you know what you're doing, you know, without that stripped bare, I felt really lost, yeah. But then I was still in the mire, without the money coming in for doing nothing. And that's when things really got out of hand, because I still wanted cocaine, I still wanted this. I quite liked the lifestyle as well. And that's when the crime came in. Yeah, very much. I remember I did my first hour, I was probably more desperate than anything. That's my first sentence. It was a bookies. I did it with a Cody, and I remember getting arrested for it. The legal brief I had at the time was an ex-police officer. I joined with him. He got arrested for drink driving himself and lost his job, so he became a brief. I remember him coming in. I said, I was looking, and he just said, you're done. So we just hugged, and I joined him, and I just thought my life was over then. I thought, that's it, done. I went to Pentonville the next day, and that was my first sentence, yeah. And that was, it was a shock to the system.
During your time in prison, were there moments that you were fearful for your life?
No, I wasn't really that scared. It was a challenge, you know. It was every day was a challenge. Somebody I knew had put me into somebody, you know, through the grapevine, and this old boy had the only single cell on the whole wing. There was about 300 cells here, one single cell. I went down to dinner queue the first night. He sits at the end and he pulled me over. He said, "You're South Eastern Real Crime Squad, aren't you?" Which was the department. I said, no, not me. And he said, "Look, don't hear that. I got the cell there, come and have a cup of tea with me." I went and we become great friends, and he guided me through the whole lot of it. He taught me how to do jail, and he greased the wheels for me. So I ended up in a DCAT called Latchmere House, which a lot of the gangsters used to pay. They'll say they did. They used to pay to get there. One day they came for me, and the governor said, "Don't know how you've done it, but you've got to Latchmere House." I had a cell ready, and they began it was a year in DCAT, which was a party time. It was unbelievable. I'm drinking brandy on my first night, and I'm going to sniff of cocaine at the table, and the door opens, and there's a prison officer there. I'm like, my God. But they come in, "Do you want one tonight? Do you want to?" "No, not tonight, not tonight." I was like, it's just a mad world. And I came out of Latchmere meeting a load of people. My phone book was full. I was just well armed for crime, really. It was just breeding place for it. And when I came out, I was in Dagenham. They were in Dagenham. We were drinking, and then one thing led to another, and then I'm doing armed robberies again. Yeah, with about 6 or 7 co-defendants, yeah, running around the East End.
What were you doing?
Shops, bingo halls, you name it. We dress up as whatever, firemen sometimes. Go in and say the alarm's gone off. The alarm hasn't gone off. Yeah, but more 9 times out of 10, they'll say, "Yeah, we're having problems with the alarm." And you say, "Well, you're in full uniform now." You say, "You've got to check the sensors in every room." So you walk up, check. You don't have a clue what you're doing. I'm just going like that to them, doing nothing. And then they said, "The cash office is here. Do you want us to check them in here?" We said, "We've got to check every room in your cash office. The safe is there, isn't it?" So, yeah, it was just mad.
What was the most that you stole at one time?
40s or 50s each, like, you know. But it wasn't hard work. They do the vans as well and stuff. Just a mad life. And I knew it was going to hit me hard. And it was just before Christmas where we'd done it at the supermarket, and we had plated cars. We drove the 2 cars, and we jumped in the other plated cars, and we drove off. And before you know it, about Audis and BMWs with flashing lights behind me. I remember looking back thinking, my God, this is it now. This is over. I remember being rammed off the road, going into a front garden, basically, into a house, pulling us out, and quick cuffed on the side of the road. I remember people going shopping, and I was there and thinking, I'm going to do life for this. I've had it. So, yeah, really, I was kind of relieved as well, though, you know? In a strange way, I was kind of relieved that it was over. If that makes sense. Even though you're facing all this, you don't know what's going to happen. I was relieved. I'd had enough. And they took us back to the police station. And he walked a DS from a flying squad. I joined police with him in training school, so I knew him really, really well. So this guy who I joined with is now responsible for my investigation and interviewing me when I'm sitting on the opposite side of the table. And I found that really, really disturbing. How would it be any else, though? But I found it quite disturbing. My head was a little bit messed up with it. And I think that shows your decline then, when you see the people there who you used to work with, and it highlighted to me just what I'd done, what I had become, and what I'd, in my actions were huge. And you know, I wanted it to end. If someone said, "Yeah, I'll open the floor now, you'll die," and you're gone, I'd have said, "Yeah, please." I'd have gone.
What was driving you at that point when you were committing those crimes?
It was drugs, it was also lifestyle. The drugs were always there through all his crime. Absolutely, I couldn't put him down until I went to Belmarsh. And then I didn't take a drug.
Do you have any regrets?
Yeah. I was horrible, you know. I wasn't. I have this image of me being a nice person, always having the right morals, which I think I have, but I wasn't that nice. Really wasn't that nice. I let people down. I lied. You take it now. You just lie. So I lied. That's the real thing that haunts me. But I try and make amends now, and I'm doing what I can. I went to work for a drugs place called Kaleidoscope. They deal with addiction or what have you. It's what I was doing, and my partner worked there. Well, the rest is history. My partner, yeah. So I met her there. We become friends for a few years. I enjoyed the work. And then we ended up together, yeah. Yeah, fantastic. Really lucky. Lucky to have a family. I kind of ready-made family. I've never had a family. I've never really been committed into anything like that. You're not when you're in that headspace. So I'm so fortunate to have that family unit now. Having people depend on you as well, and putting people before yourself, which is something I was really incapable of doing. I couldn't put anyone before myself because I was too selfish. It was all about me. Now I don't care about me. I'd rather do things for them or they have it than me all day long. And that's a nice feeling. I realised that money doesn't make you happy, it's people that make you happy. You can have all the money in the world, but you need that structure around you. And I've got it now, but only because I've allowed it to happen. You know, I've been open to it. But again, I keep saying I'm very lucky to have that. After what I've been through, to have something like I've got now, how fortunate am I?
I actually thought he was going to walk off, and I see him look at me, and he had a thought, and now I know what the thought was. I've got to kill him. And he just walked up to me, and he just went, bang, bang, straight in the head.